The Master or Residential Certified Electrical Inspector examination is generally considered more difficult than the National Certified Professional Code Inspector examination. The Master Electrical Inspector exam covers a wider range of topics and requires a deeper understanding of electrical codes and standards. The Master Electrical Inspector certification is gaining acceptance in many jurisdictions around the country, but it is not yet universally recognized. Some states and municipalities still require or prefer the National Certified Professional Code Inspector certification. The Underwriters Laboratories White Book and the National Fire Protection Association Electrical Inspection Manual are both excellent study references for the Master Electrical Inspector exam. However, the test may also include questions from other sources, such as the International Building Code and the International Residential Code. The hands-on portion of the Master Electrical Inspector certification involves performing electrical inspections on a variety of buildings, including residential, commercial, and industrial buildings. The inspections are typically conducted under the supervision of a qualified inspector. The experience of taking the hands-on portion of the Master Electrical Inspector certification varies depending on the individual inspector. Some inspectors find the experience to be relatively easy, while others find it to be challenging. It is important to note that the hands-on portion of the certification is not pass or fail. Instead, it is used to evaluate the inspector's competencies and areas for improvement. If you are considering pursuing the Master Electrical Inspector certification, I would recommend that you thoroughly review the application handbook and the study references. You should also consider taking a preparatory course or working with a mentor to help you prepare for the examination. To elaborate further on the differences between the Master Electrical Inspector exam and the National Certified Professional Code Inspector exam, it's helpful to understand the scope of knowledge each exam requires. The Master Electrical Inspector exam, being more advanced, often delves deeper into specific articles of the National Electrical Code, or NEC, requiring a thorough understanding of not just the general rules, but also the exceptions and specific applications. This includes a comprehensive grasp of calculations related to conductor sizing, overcurrent protection, voltage drop, and various types of electrical systems. You will also be asked about grounding and bonding requirements for different scenarios, including separately derived systems and sensitive electronic equipment. In contrast, the National Certified Professional Code Inspector exam may focus more on the general application of the code, without requiring the same level of detailed knowledge. For example, while both exams will likely cover topics like general wiring methods, the Master Electrical Inspector exam might present more complex scenarios involving hazardous locations, healthcare facilities, or industrial installations. It is important to note that the level of acceptance of the Master Electrical Inspector certification varies widely by jurisdiction. In some areas, it may be highly valued and even required for certain positions, while in others, it may be relatively unknown. It is advisable to check with the relevant authorities in the specific area where you plan to work to determine their requirements. Consider reaching out to local chapters of the International Association of Electrical Inspectors, or IE, as well as state and local licensing boards to gather information about the acceptance of different certifications. As mentioned earlier, the Underwriters Laboratories White Book and the National Fire Protection Association Electrical Inspection Manual are valuable study resources. The Underwriters Laboratories White Book provides information on the listing and labeling of electrical equipment, which is essential for ensuring that products meet safety standards. The National Fire Protection Association Electrical Inspection Manual offers guidance on conducting thorough and effective electrical inspections. In addition to these resources, it is important to familiarize yourself with the International Building Code and the International Residential Code, as these codes may be referenced in the exam, particularly in questions related to the coordination of electrical systems with other building systems. When preparing for the hands-on portion of the Master Electrical Inspector certification, it is helpful to gain experience with a wide range of electrical installations. This could involve working with a mentor, volunteering for inspection-related tasks, or seeking opportunities to observe experienced inspectors in the field. The hands-on portion of the certification is designed to assess your ability to identify code violations, evaluate the safety of electrical installations, and apply your knowledge to real-world situations. While the hands-on portion is not graded in a pass-or-fail manner, it is important to take it seriously and demonstrate your competence as an electrical inspector. The feedback you receive can be valuable for identifying areas where you need to improve your skills. To summarize, the Master Electrical Inspector certification is a challenging but rewarding credential that can enhance your career prospects as an electrical inspector. By thoroughly preparing for the exam and gaining practical experience, you can increase your chances of success and demonstrate your commitment to electrical safety. Consider seeking out additional training opportunities, such as courses on specific areas of the National Electrical Code, to further enhance your knowledge and skills. It is also helpful to stay up to date on the latest changes to the National Electrical Code and other relevant standards by attending industry conferences and subscribing to relevant publications. Now let's delve a little deeper into the specific types of questions you might encounter on the Master Electrical Inspector exam. You should expect questions that test your knowledge of calculations related to feeder and service sizing, voltage drop, and short circuit current. These calculations often require you to apply various tables and formulas from the National Electrical Code. For example, you might be asked to determine the minimum size of conductors and overcurrent protection for a feeder supplying a specific load, taking into account factors such as the type of load, the ambient temperature, and the number of conductors in a raceway. You might also be asked to calculate the voltage drop in a circuit to ensure that it meets the requirements of the National Electrical Code. In addition to calculations, you should also be prepared to answer questions about grounding and bonding requirements. This includes understanding the differences between equipment grounding conductors, grounding electrode conductors, and bonding jumpers. You should also be familiar with the grounding and bonding requirements for various types of electrical systems, such as separately derived systems, healthcare facilities, and agricultural buildings. The exam may also include questions about hazardous locations, such as those containing flammable gases, vapors, or dusts. These questions will likely test your knowledge of the different classes, divisions, and zones of hazardous locations, as well as the types of equipment that are permitted in each location. You should also be familiar with the requirements for wiring methods, sealing, and ventilation in hazardous locations. Furthermore, the exam may cover topics such as fire alarm systems, emergency lighting systems, and renewable energy systems. These questions may test your knowledge of the applicable codes and standards, as well as the design, installation, and maintenance requirements for these systems. Remember that the National Electrical Code is constantly evolving, with new editions being published every 3 years. It is important to stay up to date on the latest changes to the code by reviewing the latest edition and attending training courses. It is also helpful to subscribe to industry publications and participate in online forums to stay informed about new developments in the electrical industry. Also, consider the scope of the International Building Code, or IC, and the International Residential Code, or IRC, in relation to the electrical inspector's responsibilities. The IBC and IRC contain provisions that address the coordination of electrical systems with other building systems such as fire protection, plumbing, and mechanical systems. For example, the IBC includes requirements for the installation of fire alarm systems, emergency lighting systems, and standby power systems. The IRC includes requirements for the installation of electrical systems in residential buildings, including wiring methods, grounding, and overcurrent protection. As an electrical inspector, you need to be familiar with these requirements to ensure that electrical systems are installed safely and in accordance with the applicable codes. You also need to be able to identify potential conflicts between electrical systems and other building systems and to work with other trades to resolve these conflicts. For example, you might need to coordinate with the fire protection contractor to ensure that the fire alarm system is properly connected to the building's electrical system. You might also need to coordinate with the plumbing contractor to ensure that the grounding system is properly connected to the water piping system. Another important aspect of the electrical inspector's job is to enforce the codes and standards in a fair and consistent manner. This requires you to have a thorough understanding of the codes and standards, as well as the ability to communicate effectively with contractors, building owners, and other stakeholders. You also need to be able to document your inspections accurately and to maintain records of any code violations that you find. In addition, you should be aware of the legal aspects of electrical inspections, such as the requirements for obtaining warrants and the procedures for issuing citations. It is also important to maintain your professional ethics and to avoid any conflicts of interest. Finally, remember that the Master Electrical Inspector certification is a valuable credential that can enhance your career prospect. By obtaining this certification, you demonstrate your commitment to electrical safety and your expertise in the field of electrical inspections. I would like to reiterate the importance of reviewing the application handbook and the study references. The application handbook provides detailed information about the eligibility requirements, the exam format, and the scoring criteria. The study references provide the knowledge and information you need to prepare for the exam. So, dedicate time and effort to reviewing these materials and seek out additional resources as needed.